One. Hello, everybody. This is That's Good Stuff, and we are here to talk some musics this time around. We have the newest album from Grouplove. It's their sixth album.
They have that many albums?
Yeah, they do. They had it's called I Want It All right now. So most people would know them for their first album that had songs such as Tongue Tied and
They have 6 albums and that was their first one?
yeah, Colors.
I
So
assumed it was a I assumed it was a band that had like older stuff and then they got recognized for that album.
no, they just haven't had a hit since then, I guess. Because I heard them on that first album, and they were on the radio a lot,
Yeah.
in some promotional stuff, and then they just kind of disappeared. I didn't hear from them from a while, and then seeing that they released a new album this year, I was like, okay, let's review this new album. I need to get the track listing because I don't have that up. So when you think of this band, or when I think of this band, I should say, indie, I guess indie rock pop
Indie party
certainly,
rock?
yeah, certainly comes to mind. Um, I mean, if you like put indie rock on a Wikipedia page and you had to have an album, you could put one of their albums because I think it's pretty like it just sounds like indie rock. What was your like first impressions of them before you heard this album?
Um yeah, I just like really in that it came out around that time with all the indie rock and stuff like that, like kind of like I'm forgetting names. But they came around a time when the indie rock was kind of big, I guess. And
Yeah,
they seemed to stand out more because they weren't like folk or just like garage band. They were more like party rock or like their name, group rock or something like that. Like just friends making music for like a party or like an event. But they stood out to me from their other other bands at that time.
yeah. If I'd have to like compare them to a band, I guess Foster the People, I think, would come kind of closest.
Yeah. When I was listening to this album, the singer really reminds me of like kind of like the Von Bondi's singer, and then like kind of the Foster the People guy, but a lot more rough and a
Yeah,
lot more abrasive.
yeah. And then his voice reminded me of something we'll talk about when we get to the songs. Um, so the first song we have is called All. Um, and for me, this one is kind of like it's a good opener, but it's more restrained than you would think
So,
from this band.
yeah. So when I first heard this, it reminded me of that band you really like, Jets Overhead.
Oh yeah.
It kind of sounded like them because he was so like held back,
Yeah.
and then I think the female vocalist comes in like midway, and it's a lot. It's very smooth, kind of like Jets Overhead. So it really reminded me of that at first. So I was like, oh, they're going a completely different route this album.
Yeah. Um I think they do go a different route, but it takes them a while. Because the next couple songs kind of sounds like them. The second song is called Cheese.
Yeah,
And
I
for
go ahead.
so I should say with like a lot of their songs, there's stuff I like and there's stuff I
Mhm.
don't like.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of like a mixture. It's like when I first started listening to it, I'm like, I don't really like this, but then I get into the chorus or something, I'll be like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. And I had that feeling a lot in this album. For this song, the thing I don't like is kind of the choir scene that a lot of new bands do, or I should say bands from like the past 10, 20 years. They do a lot of that where they do the
Yeah.
harmony, and I don't really like that. And this one has that.
Yeah. Especially when it becomes a trend like this and it
Hmm.
just is oversaturated. Cheese really reminded me like mm, their songs to me, a lot of them just kind of get lost in themselves. It just
Yeah.
becomes noise. And I get very unfocused during the song. So on this one, I couldn't tell. Like I've listened to it 3 times, and I couldn't tell you anything about this song.
For Yeah, I could get that. This one, I kind of had like I try to rank them when I'm listening to them, and I either give them like a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or just kind of a mid. And this was kind
Yeah,
of very mid.
yeah,
Um,
it's not bad, but it's not great. It's not
yeah,
like it's not like their old stuff, like their hits.
it
It's
kind of has
just
a Japanese feel to it, like their kind of rock
mm,
a little bit in the beginning. I thought. Okay, so the next song, number three, is I think probably one of the best of the early songs, and it's called
yeah.
Malachi.
Was that how you say that? I
Yeah.
thought it was Malachi. I went on a little music adventure with this song because it was reminding me of something
Hmm.
like a '90s song, and I kept playing it over and over, and I was like, first I was like, is it No Doubt that the because there's like a one hit wonder, but then I was like, it kind of like those songs where like other artists are featured, so I thought it was like Gwen Stefani and some other band,
Oh yeah.
and then I was like, no, maybe it was the '80s, so I went back to the '80s, and it wasn't quite there, but then I found Lynn. Do you remember that band, Lynn, with their song "Still My Sunshine"?
Yeah.
It reminded me of this song, and kind of like them, it has like a dude singing, like he's the
Hmm.
main vocalist, and then the female vocalist has like a hook that she sings. So it reminded me of that, and it was driving me nuts at work. Like I didn't get anything done.
The boss is like, "Hey, we need you to," and you're
I
like,
was like,
"Stop!"
I put my finger on his lips. I was like, shh.
Okay, so yeah, I thought it was the best of the early songs. Probably not my favorite on the album, but
Mm,
um, the next one, sorry, "Hello," number four, and for me, this was probably the worst song on the album.
definitely.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Um, because again, it has kind of that choir thing going for it, the harmony,
Mm.
and it just sounds really like kiddish, like something you hear on like what were those old albums? The
Kids Bop.
Kids Bop, yeah. Sounds like something that would be on there.
Yeah. I, Again, I don't really have anything to say about this one. I just put in my notes that like least favorite, and kind of it did the same thing where it kind of got lost in itself,
Hmm.
and I got very unfocused with it. But
Yeah, it kind of wears on
it,
you.
yeah, it really highlighted like the worst traits of this band to me. I don't know. I didn't really care for it.
Yeah, it's definitely a skip, I would say. Uh, maybe a soft skip because the album does kind of flow well throughout. I thought
Mm,
so. There's some songs where it just like you can skip because it just doesn't fit well with the album, but this one, I mean, it fits. It's not a real good song.
yeah.
So five is Eyes, and this one changes the pace a little.
Yeah.
And it starts off slow. So this one I liked, but I shouldn't have. I
Yeah.
because
I
the
like
go ahead.
I like this song. It reminds me of like a Modest Mouse song or something they would um have on like one of their
Yeah.
albums.
For me, the lyrics were kind of bad. I didn't like they're kind of cliche lyrics.
Yeah.
Uh, but I enjoyed the actual song to it. So it was
Yeah.
it's kind
Like
of
at first I was like disgusting. And then it
yeah.
kept going. I was like, okay, I like this. I got the
Yeah,
drum beat.
exactly. It like wins you over despite the song
Yeah.
despite itself.
It's almost like early indie, like what is that really famous band? But it reminded me of old indie. I'll have to think about it. But that really famous band, Arcade Fire.
Oh, Arcade
Yeah,
Fire.
it kind of
Really?
reminded me of that, but less
Hmm.
like less because theirs is like very epic and like grandiose. This was like kind of held back, but still kind of in that vein.
Yeah. Okay, and then we get to Billy. This
Mm,
was another one that I didn't really care for. Um it's just it had when it starts it has kind of an older type feel to it, like something from the 60s or something like that. So it's that was okay, but it's just another one of those songs that kind of just wears out its welcome.
So the way I put this song is it had me scared when I first heard it because I was like, oh man, it's starting this trend of like what I want to call like campfire rock or like campfire music, where it's
Hmm.
just like a guitar and like it was slower and it felt like they were just he was just playing for like a group of friends. And I was like scared for the whole rest of the album because I was like because the last song was Eyes and that was kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
So I thought I was gonna start this trend of it. So I was terrified at this song. And like you, I didn't really care for this song at all.
Yeah. And then for seven, which is called Trying, all I have written down in my notes is mid. That's just all it is.
So it's not great.
Mhm.
In my notes, I shouldn't like this song. It's okay, but it's like a whole song of um that song that goes like "We can be
Oh
heroes."
yeah.
It's like a whole song of that, and I was
Yeah, it's
like
very
midway, I was like,
monotonous. uh, okay, so this is where the album kind of turns for me.
mm,
I talked about last time how newer albums tend to they put all the good stuff in the beginning, and then
mm.
I don't like the end stuff. But for this album, it was like completely different. The beginning was like just like all right, and then it gets like really good towards the end. I thought,
The strongest songs are towards the end. I don't know if I
yeah,
like the whole end, but this song was kind of like their most ambitious or like artsy.
yeah. So this one's number 8 on the track list, and it's called Cream.
Hmm.
And
I thought it skipped albums because or
uh
went to a different album
huh,
because it's very like kind of vaporwave-ish, but like
yeah, yeah. It's just a very different mood than the rest of
yeah,
the album, and I digged it. I thought it was really good.
kind of haunting at the same time.
Yeah,
Even though the lyrics don't suggest anything like that, but it was like very like had like a creepy feel to it.
yeah, and even kind of bends on like electronica almost with the music.
Yeah,
Um, and I gotta say I like that line they have in there about dream all over.
yeah,
I kind of like that line.
yeah.
Um,
What this is the song that I immediately go to when I listen to this album. Um,
yeah,
this is the one that I'd listen to from now on from this album.
yeah, agreed. Number 9, I think it's called Francine, and I think
Mhm.
it's the best all around.
Do you?
Yeah, song. It might not be my favorite. I think Cream might be my favorite, but I think this is just the best all around like representation of their sound.
Yeah. Um, this one kind of for me was mid. Um, I don't remember. Like I can't remember it right now.
Yeah, this one's heavy on the female vocalist.
Hmm.
And this is one of the singles. I think.
Really?
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to remember. I'll try to look it up. But the singles for this one, I know this is one of them, and I think this is the only one I kind of like. So
Hmm.
all Francine and Cheese and Hello. So out of all the singles, I think this is the best one.
Hmm.
Um, so
Hello, really? Jeez.
I know. Um, yeah, and this one kind of had the music video, so you could tell it was the
Yeah.
single. Number 10 is Climb. This one's pretty different too, and it's pretty upbeat.
Yeah. At this point of the album, I was like, I kind of wish the whole album was like this because it's more
Yeah.
enthusiastic and fun, like their old stuff.
Hmm.
And I just like the pace of it.
Yeah,
But
it's got kind of an industrial sound to it.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I just really like the fast pace after all those slow songs and like just not them kind of songs.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're finding that when they try to be different,
Unless
it's
it's
when
Cream.
yeah. So 11 is Wall, and this is the closer. I thought it was a pretty good closer.
Hmm.
But what I gotta say is the guy's vocals on this one just remind of the like in the beginning part. Just reminds me of Freakazoid for some. Do you remember? I think it's like the first episode where he's like at the party and he's like telling everyone to get real low.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, that just reminded me of that song.
um, dang, I'm gonna listen to it again. Yeah, this guy's voice is very abrasive. If you're not ready for it, like,
Yeah.
but with Wall, it's kind of like Eyes. Like at first, I was like, oh no, I don't want this.
Hmm.
And even the lyrics, I was like, because there's like a cuss word in it, and I was like, oh,
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I need that from them. I just want
Yeah.
happy party music. But as it kept going, it got like a little bigger, and I started to like it. Like more instruments started to come in, and
Yeah. The guitars I thought were really good at the end of the song.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I was surprised that I ended up liking this song because at first I really didn't like it.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, first he sounds like Freakazoid, then he's swearing at me, and now,
Well,
but now I like it.
the first time I was so fatigued by the album that I just turned it off because I was like, I'm
Oh,
done.
really?
And then the second time I listened to it, I was like, oh, it builds and like it's not that bad. So I kept listening to it, and then on the third time I looked forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, so to like wrap it up, like I said, this album gets stronger as it goes. Uh I'd give it around. The problem I have with like this kind of album is just I'm a very like mood person when I'm listening to music. I gotta be in a certain mood for certain albums, and I just don't know what mood this album is for. Like for me personally, I could
Yeah.
see maybe like listening to on the road, like driving music. Except for Cream is the best song, and it's not a road song.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's tough. This wasn't I was surprised how much I really didn't care for this album and just how jarring it was from their old stuff because like I've said like for 5 songs it didn't sound like them because it wasn't fun or like a
Mhm.
party song. And I think I'm gonna stick with the fact that I'll probably only go back to a few songs like Eyes, Cream,
Yeah.
and Climb like after this review. Um I just I you're right. There's no situation that this would call for, and then
Yeah.
it's like There's no song that you're like, man, I need to go listen to that, or that's got stuck in my head.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, you're the gym guy. Maybe you listen to Climb at the gym.
Yeah, it's the only one you could like.
So like, if I had to give it a score, I'd probably give it around a 7.6 out of 10.
Hmm,
What do you think?
it's pretty generous. I was gonna give honestly, for me, it's not what I usually go for.
Yeah.
I did appreciate a few songs, but I'm gonna have to give it like a 5.9.
All right. So around the average,
Yeah.
but probably like one song kicking it up a little bit.
Hmm.
All right. So yeah, so that was our music review for this month, I guess it was.
If I have a message for Grouplove, it's like switch to cream music or go
Completely
back to the
change your
yeah
sound or
or go back to the your first stuff.
yeah. Um if you want a little trivia, they had a drummer that used to be in this band whose dad was in the band. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there you go. He was a guitarist. I don't know if he was a guitarist on like their famous songs, but
Mhm.
maybe, maybe. So we'll be back with another music review soon as some new music comes out, or we might go back to old ones. We don't know. We'd like to do new ones, but we're very picky.
Yeah.
Have you heard any like new stuff lately?
uh sort of, but it's all like heavier music, so I don't know if you guys would listen to it because I think I mentioned it in the chat.
Is it from this year?
Huh? Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, so
Um,
maybe
yeah, we can try it.
we can find some stuff from this year to look at.
Yeah.
Um, so that's gonna do it for us for this time on That's Good Stuff. Like, subscribe, and notify yourself for even more good stuff to come, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.